stopping by the obviously authentic channel. My name's Leah, and that's spelled Lea and not Leah. So if this is your first time joining me, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. And if you're a recurring viewer or even a subscriber, what's up? And again, thanks for stopping by. So we're going to be talking about Hilda, season 2, episode 9, the Deerfox. So this was a twig episode, basically. And if you see me looking down, you already know it's my handy dandy notes. So like I said, this was like a twig. It's basically called a Deerfox, and that's what twig is. It was a episode centered around little twig. And basically, he keeps having these dreams. I wouldn't say they were nightmares, except one of the dreams to me was a nightmare, but a dream of him chasing this orb, and he's in this really pretty, like, blue, kind of like space dimension where everything's just like flowy, and you can see like paths and things like that, little white paths. But he wakes up, and you could tell he had a rough night because he probably was chasing the orb throughout his whole entire dream. Well, Twig is kind of feeling a little underappreciated. Joanna forgot to take him out, which is weird to me when people say, oh, I forgot to take my dog out. Because when I had a dog, I was so worried that she was going to pee on the floor that, like, we all, like, my family, she was our family dog. We always tried to take her out and stuff like that. Or if she had to pee, she would just go to the door and scratch at the door so we would let her go out. So she forgets to take Twig out for a walk while she's at home working. She's obviously consumed by work. And then Hilda didn't take Twig to school that day. So he was waiting for her all day. And then she just immediately runs into the house, says hi, a brief hi to Twig. She takes Alfred with him. He jumps on her shoulder, and then they run out so she could go hang out with David and Frida. So we see David, Frida, Alfred, and Hilda. They're chasing after a ghost who stole David's shoe. When you're a ghost, I always wondered how that, like, comes to be, in the sense of, like, you can't touch ghosts, but ghosts can touch, like, solid objects. Because I'm trying to figure out, like, well, how did he take David's shoe? Because David got on one shoe. So I'm like, did he take it off of his foot? Or did David, like, drop it or something? It's weird. It's weird. So then, where are we at? Twig has another dream. And while he's having the dream, he wakes up, but this time he gets trapped inside of, like, this 4-dimensional box, and he can't get out of it to chase the orb. So he, like, freaks out. But then when he wakes up, he notices a blue light in the distance that's closer to the mountains where Joanna and Hilda lived before they had to move to Trollberg after the house got destroyed by the giant. So Twig, in the middle of the night, wakes up, like, from his dream, and he sees the blue light, and he decides to head towards it. So he jumps out the window, and when Frida wakes up, not Frida, but Hilda, she's, like, looking for him, and she can't find him. So, you know, she's freaking out, as anybody would be freaking out if they lost their pet. You know, like, you be freaking out. So Alfred, I always call him Alfred, y'all. Alfred is, like, a very weird way of saying his name. I know Hilda is based off of, like, Icelandic, Nordic mythology and myth. So I know the words are different, but, like, I want to call him Alfred, not Alfred. But maybe that's just the way my American tongue is set up. But he notices that like, antler marks on the window. So he makes it known that, like, oh, he must have got out. So, you know, they go looking for him. And then we start getting flashbacks where we see a cute little baby Hilda who is probably, like, 6. And she's going out. Side note, I don't understand why Joanna CPS should have went after Joanna. Because ain't no way I'm letting my 6-year-old child out in the woods, no matter how much or how great I think she is. I'm not letting you out in the woods by yourself. It's not going down like that. So we see baby Hilda, who's probably like 6 or 7, and she sees a trapped Twig. So Twig, which is baby Twig as well, and he's trapped like in a crevice, and she helps him out of the crevice. And like they have like one of those bonding moments, but Twig ends up like running off once Joanna comes up. And so it flashes back to current Twig, running through the woods. He actually sees a troll, and hides from the troll. Then as he's running through the woods, he sees a wolf, and the wolf begins to chase him, and he ends up back at the house that got destroyed, their old house, and he's like in the rubble, like he hides in the rubble from the wolf. So it's the next day, and it's crazy because they're heading towards the Lost Clan. Ends up telling Alfred that they saw Twig leave town. So Joanna and Hilda decide to like go towards the house because they're like, maybe he wants to go back home, or he misses the woods instead of being stuck in the flat all the time. So Joanna and Hilda almost get into a car accident because there's a troll who gets petrified in the middle of the road. Which I was like, I took notice of that because I was like, since this series has been on, we've never seen trolls like on roads. So I'm like wondering, like, was he or she trying to get towards the town, or was she running from something? So like it got stuck in the middle of the road. And if you don't know, the trolls turn into stone once it hits sun, like morning, like the sunlight turns them into stone. So I was like, So then what ends up happening is that when they go back home to where their house is destroyed, you remember there was like that elf town that was there, and Alfred's with them, and I don't know, I forget if Alfred was with them or if no, I don't think Alfred was with them. They noticed the house, and one of the elves came out and was like, "Oh, he was here. Like we saw him, but he ran off that way." So he points them in the right direction to find Twig. So then, as they're looking for Twig, they jump across the chasm where we see where Hilda found Twig when he was a baby, stuck in the crevice. And then when they climb up the chasm, they are met by the same wolf that has been chasing Twig throughout the whole entire episode. So then Twig ends up saving Joanna and Hilda, and Loki, they end up killing the wolf because Twig ends up tricking the wolf to like fall off a cliff, which I would think as a wolf they would have more prowess than that. But the wolf falls off the cliff, and he dead. If he alive, he dead because that's the fall. So, or maybe he's not dead, but I would feel like you fall off a cliff, you dead. Or if you're not dead, you done broke like at least a couple of bones, like your legs and maybe a jaw or something. So it ends up like flashing back, and we end up seeing how Twig became a part of Hilda and Joanna's family. So after Twig saves Hilda and Joanna, you see the blue light again, and it leads them to and we see the Woodman. So the Woodman, he makes a cameo, and it's basically like Joanna and Hilda stop by his place to see if he could give them any information about Deerfoxes. But he even said there's nothing really known about Deerfoxes, and we end up finding out why. So jumping back over, after Twig saves Joanna and Hilda, the blue light is showing up again, and basically it's a herd of Deerfoxes, and Twig meets up with his mom and dad, and we all of a sudden we see this dimensional portal open up to that blue area, or like that space that Twig was dreaming about, and like this really pretty walkway comes out, and like all the Deerfoxes jump on to go. So basically it sounds like the Deerfoxes breed and have their offspring in the regular world, and then once their offspring reaches a certain age, like with baby Twig, they take all their offspring back to the dimension that they're from. Basically kind of like tuna, like fish, how I think, is it tuna? I think it's tuna that come back and they go back to where they spawn to have their young, and they like swim back. And then the other kids, when they grow up, they end up going to the ocean, and then they come back to spawn and have their young again. So we end up finding out how Twig became a part of the family. Basically, he heard Hilda screaming when she was a little kid. That's why you don't let your child at 6 be in the woods like that. And she almost fell off the cliff, and Twig came and saved her and even showed her how to get out of the chasm. And he became a part of the family by accident in a way, because he ran off the ramp in order to save Hilda. The portal was closed. So I guess it only opens around the time, like every so often, to let them come have their kids, raise them up until where they're able to like walk and fend a little bit for themselves, and then they go back to that dimension. So that explains why there's not much information about them, because they're not they don't live in our realm, but only for probably a few weeks, maybe like a month or two. So Twig decides to go with them, but then he ends up coming back because, he ain't gonna leave his family. So it was a cute episode. Sorry there ain't that much energy, but yeah, I thought it was a cute episode. It wasn't much to me, but yeah, y'all, that's it. That's all. Be bravely authentic, and comment, subscribe, and come back. Deuce.